the slaves, right, in 1854 in response to gun laws that were passed down in Louisiana in 1853 against the freedmen. So in 1853, they said that the freedmen in Louisiana could no longer own guns. A man without a gun is a slave, right? So the GOP formed the next year, which is why the GOP is completely against gun rights. And so on my show, people will call and say, well, P. Ray, those Republicans are racist. They want us to have guns and kill each other up. I'm like, absolutely, black guns matter. Go get your guns and your bullets. We're Americans, are you crazy?
Yeah.
So my goal right now is for people to understand that we are Americans. All of us are Americans. Everything from sea to shining sea is for us and us first. We cannot allow our tax dollars to be used, one, to be involved in human trafficking, because J.B. Pritzker right now is involved in a human trafficking and human smuggling campaign with the governor of Texas, okay? So we see it's not a party specifically, this is a federal crime. Our Attorney General Kwame Raoul is not prosecuting these federal crimes, okay? If I was to get a box of little girls from the Philippines and traffic them across the country, I'm going to jail, okay? I'm going straight to the MCC. J.B. Pritzker is giving them hotel rooms, okay, with our tax dollars, and we know people who are sleeping outside. So the way that I have been very successful at turning Black Chicago red is by empowering the people, and I want to share this with you guys as well. I have this saying, I always say, don't go to people's houses and tell them that they have roaches. They know, okay? Instead, you better tell them, I like your couch. What a beautiful mirror. Where did you get this lamp? If you empower them to see their home as a better place, they'll clean up. They'll sweep, they'll mop, right? But if you go there and you're like, ugh, oh my God, I gotta shake out my clothes, it's so dirty here. People will not hear that. So as we take our message into Black Chicago, stop telling Black people what's wrong with them. We know better than everybody else. But what typically happens when the GOP comes to Black areas, it becomes a story of everything that's wrong. We know how the Democratic Party has harmed us, okay? We know that extremely well. We have watched our neighborhoods rapidly decline. We are now dealing with the Sinaloa drug cartel that's on the west side of Chicago that are selling $1 billion of heroin a year. That is $166 million of heroin a year because of our open border. So when they show the open borders and they show women and children, to me on the west side, that looks like drug trafficking. That looks like overdosing. That looks like nodding. That looks like bags on the ground and needles everywhere, because my neighborhood is the epicenter of the heroin trade in America. Over 90% of the heroin in this country is trafficked off the west side of Chicago. They move the heroin from Mexico straight to Little Village. The boys in Little Village chop it up. They get with the black boys on the west side with the Vice Lords and the Foles and the Souls and all those people, and they sell that heroin up and down 290. So for us, that looks like drug trafficking. For you all, that looks like drug overdoses. We have dead teenagers on both sides. So we have to take the race out of this. We have to stop making this a socioeconomic conversation. We must make this an American conversation. When we you guys to really push back against this woke culture that they're pushing out here. Black people are not on board with that, okay? We are not on board with these blue check mark people calling us pitiful victims any and every chance they get. We are not victims. My grandmother, who I lost during COVID, told me that she picks 100 pounds of cotton a day as a child down in Chula, Mississippi. That's 2 tons of cotton a month. I'm not a victim, honey. I'm not a victim at all. I work at Merrill now in an air-conditioned little space with my headset on. Okay, I'm not a victim. Nobody is a victim. Stop looking at people like they are victims. We are all Americans. We are all dealing with very real American problems the same exact way. Okay, the same exact way. I also want to know that Black Chicago is done with the Democratic Party. Everybody's about to be really surprised at this new election. We have Black Jesus is in town right now, okay? Black Jesus is here and Reverend Al Sharpton. They're both here to stone for JB. When he gets here, we're going to boot them both off the stage and back to the We know again that people will say that the Republicans are boogeymen. When I went down to the Bailey Farm 2 years ago, go Darren, go. I'm the first person to bring Darren on Chicago radio. I'm the only person to bring him on Black Chicago radio, and everybody says we want the farmer. So it's gonna work out. I feel really good in my soul about this. But when I went to his farm downstate 2 years ago, people said, no, Ray, don't go. It's a Klan rally, and they're gonna kill you, and they're gonna dump you in the fields, and we'll never find you again. You're gonna end up on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. And I'm like, no. So I went down there, and it was absolutely amazing. Everybody was super duper nice to me. Everybody was kind to me, and that's what I want to encourage you guys to do as well. Because what everyone is saying is that, P. Ray, you have convinced us that the Democrats are terrible people. So where are the Republicans? Where are the Republicans? They don't spend money with Black media. They're not running ads on our stations. They're not sending representatives to us. They're not sending us signs. They're not inviting us to their meeting. So what do we do? Once we leave the Democrats, do we just stand out in the wilderness? No. We have a place here in the GOP, and I believe that everyone here has the ability to extend that invitation. Make a friend, know that although we are different racially, we are all the same as Americans. Because one thing that I push, I'm going to wrap this up, I don't know how much time I got. Oh, yes, I'm a talk show, so I can do this. But what we have to understand is when we talk about education, I'm an educator. So when I moved to Africa, I have an international bilingual Islamic school. We cater to the children of diplomats, ambassadors, and West African heads of state. I have 1,000 students from 35 nationalities, okay? So when I say I'm an educator, I'm a real live educator. What I've learned, and I was sharing this with your sister on my way here, is that we can see that these academic deficiencies are not racial, okay? In the city of Chicago, 30% of Black children are reading proficiently. In Mount Vernon, Illinois, 0% of white children are reading proficiently. So when we have this conversation, I want you guys to focus on the white children in Mount Vernon, because those children have much more social capital than what people have already decided the children in Chicago are. And the way that we're going to improve education in our state is by focusing on those illiterate children in Mount Vernon rather than talking about the babies up in Cook County, okay? Because what will happen is the people with the most political capital in this state will say, well, if the white children in Mount Vernon aren't reading, then we gotta do something, right? Because it's already assumed that the kids in Chicago, whatever, that the schools never work, CPS is not functioning, whatever bad stuff, again, telling people that they have roaches. We gotta focus on the people downstate because they are suffering as well. I have a girlfriend who moved from downstate to Chicago because she was an addict. And she said that downstate, they don't have rehab facilities. They don't have the things that we have in Chicago. So she left downstate to come to Chicago, which is a bigger drug den, right? But she had to come up there because the resources were not there. So if we focus on what's lacking downstate, everything will work better because people have already thrown away Cook County, okay? Don't focus on Cook County, don't advocate for Cook County. Focus on Mount Vernon, Illinois. If we do that, I promise everything will fan out from there. Secondly, the woke culture, which is what you asked me to talk about as well. Wokeness has allowed Black Lives Matter to commodify Black trauma for their economic gain, okay? We know that. 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 We are done being woke. Okay? Because woke only allows white liberals to get paid while Black communities go to waste. Okay? So don't pay attention to the woke people anymore. If you encounter a woke person, everybody practice. Stop. 1, 2, 3. Stop. That's right. Tell them, I don't want to hear that. And it doesn't make you a bad person when you say, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to have that conversation. I don't want to talk about people being pitiful. Tell me what's great about them. When you have those conversations with these woke people, say, tell me something good about Black folks. Tell me something good about the Hispanics. Tell me something good about poor white people. They're not going to have anything to say because all they have is a message of pity to elevate themselves. It's not about elevating everybody else. It's to push people down so that they look higher and then they can stand up and call themselves the notable exception. I don't see myself as a notable exception. I live on the west side of Chicago in the Austin community. I'm a registered stockbroker. I've been so for 5 years. I live in a building that my grandparents bought in 1972 so that their grandchildren could always have somewhere to live. And I live there with my first cousin and my tenants. Okay, so I choose to live in the city of Chicago. Chicago is not a poverty pit. We will call it Pritzkerville, oh dear. But we are not a poverty pit. We are dealing with the fallout of federal mismanagement on multiple levels. I was sharing with Sheriff Vice, because he's definitely going to be our sheriff. I was sharing with Sheriff Vice that the main problem right now in the city of Chicago is federal housing mismanagement. When they tore down those projects, it became a problem for everybody, okay? And it doesn't make you racist to say it because Black Chicago feels the exact same way. They tore down those buildings and they sprinkled them right over middle-class Black Chicago and tore down because there are sociocultural differences, right? Just because people are the same race does not make them the same kind of people. And we understand that because we got our share and you got your share, right? Iowa got its share. Wisconsin got its share. Indiana got its share. Texas got its share. Everybody in the country is saying, Chicago, come get your people, okay? And we want them. Come on back. But the issue, guys, and this is why I went to the White House in 2018, is that the city of Chicago, when they tore down those housing developments, they received almost $1 billion to rebuild them, okay? The city of Chicago decided that they were out of that business, and so they hoarded the money for over 20 years. The Chicago Housing Authority is the only Chicago agency currently in the green. They paid off their debts with that money, they shored up their pensions with that money, and they left all of those people homeless. And so in 2018, I'm sharing this with my friends at the table, I saw on this blog that they were having a Sunken Place Coon Festival. Anybody ever seen the movie Get Out? Okay, so for those who have not seen it, the movie Get Out is about a Black man who gets caught up with this white family. They hypnotize him and they put him in the Sunken Place. So they said that they were having this Sunken Place festival, which was for young Black conservatives. So I clicked it to see what it was about, because at this point I'm still a Democrat. And I saw that Dr. Ben Carson was going to be one of the speakers. I said, okay, I'm gonna apply to go to this Coon Festival because I gotta talk to Dr. Carson about how they are mismanaging Chicago. This administration talks a lot of trash about my city. So I applied to go, and they accepted me. 2 days later, I got an invitation from the White House, an email that said, the President of the United States requests your presence in the East Room. Please RSVP with the Secret Service. And I'm like, whoa, oh my God. So I RSVP and I go to Donnie's White House. And while I was there, I walked directly into Dr. Carson. Hey, Dr. Carson, I'm Patricia from Chicago. I'm here to talk to you because this administration talks a lot of trash about my city. Keep us out your mouths, okay? The issue is that we're dealing with federal housing mismanagement, and you, sir, have all the power to save us. We're the children of Mississippi cotton pickers. Nobody's gonna outwork us. Nobody's tougher than us. You do your part, we'll do our part. He laughed and he said, you're funny because I'm from Detroit and I get it. But the issue is the aldermanic prerogative. The aldermen have the power to veto any development that they don't want in their wards, and no one wants public housing in their wards. So this has allowed them to veto public housing for the past 20 years and hoard all of the money. Chicago is the heart of the nation. It's the most important city in the country. This is why we talk so much about Chicago. Our goal is to get rid of that aldermanic prerogative, and then you'll see more development than you've ever seen. I'm like, oh wow, thank you, Dr. Carson. Donnie gets on the stage and gives the best speech I've ever heard in my life. I actually open my show every week with a clip from that speech. And so I come back, I tell people in Chicago, he's not that bad. He's not that bad. Listen, please. And they were like, shut up. And they threw tomatoes at me, of course. I can laugh about it now, but then it was really sad. And Lori Lightfoot got elected right after that. She went to DC, met with Donnie, Ivanka, and Ben Carson. I know, you can move Lori, but I'm making a point. She came back, she opened the city council for the first time and said, no more aldermanic prerogative. Well, this is what Trump said. The only way for Lori Lightfoot to take all of that power from the city council and not end up in the river is because Donald Trump had her back. And she will never, ever, ever say or admit to this in person. I've met her multiple times, like, come on my show, Lori, so we can talk about Donnie. And she's like, yeah, put me on the schedule. But then when I called back, they never want me to come, or want her to come. Another way that Donnie helped Lori is during the riots. Remember when they had the Columbus statues and people were down there shooting fireworks at the police? Well, that was, again, a federal crime, right? You can't attack police, but I digress. So Trump, Donnie, changed the law. He said he made a federal crime to attack any statues, right? So then Lori called for the feds to come and protect the statues. The night before the feds got here, Lori pulled down 100% of the Columbus statues here in Chicago, okay? There were no more Columbus statues up. When they got here the next morning, she sent those feds on the south and west side, so she did take Trump up on that federal help. But she could not do it directly. She had to do it a roundabout way. Again, it's all in the press. This is nothing I'm making up. You can research this yourself. Trump helped Chicago tremendously. But because Lori has to follow this DNC script that pays for her election, she'll never say this aloud, okay? So we have to know that there's already been significant Republican movement in Black Chicago. I know that when the feds got here, they saw 3 murders in my family, 3. 2 first cousins and my grandmother's sister's son. Excuse me, this gang killed 3 members. They terrorized the west side of Chicago. I think they killed 20 people in 19 years, and 3 of those people were my people. So I take this, again, extremely seriously because they're now changing my life and my family's life. We've been mourning for 20 years, and now these people are at the Dirksen Federal Center getting prosecuted because of a agreement between Lightfoot and, an agreement between Lightfoot and Trump. So it's already happening, guys. What I want to wrap up with is shake a hand, make a friend. Shake a hand, make a friend. Shake a hand, make a friend. Again, Black people are done with the Democrats. We are done. We are done. I said, if you still support Democrats, that means you have low self-esteem. Okay, you have extremely, and I can't do anything about that, okay? That's how your mama raised you, and that's on her. But for everybody who has high self-esteem, everyone who is literate, everyone who wants something for their children, we can't allow the 6th grade girls to go to Cook County Hospital and get free abortions and come back and bleed on their pink sheets and nobody call their mom, right? If your baby was going to the pumpkin patch and you didn't sign that sheet, oh no, your day stops. Because you have to get to that school to sign that permission slip before the bus leaves. But that same school will allow a nurse to come there and throw an abortion pill in your baby's mouth. Okay? That's what we have to start telling people. We must start having American conversations with all other Americans, not just the people in our silo, not just the people who look like us, not just the people who agree with us, because everybody is on the same vibe right now. For me to be on WVON, which is the mouthpiece of the Cook County Democratic Party, and me to be calling Barack Obama Black Jesus, and Joe is Jim Crow Joe, everybody make that a thing. Joe Biden is Jim Crow Joe. That's how we refer to him in Black Chicago. So to talk about Black Jesus and Jim Crow Joe and champion my Donnie, and for no one to hit me in the face with a brick. They hit Martin Luther King in the face with a brick, okay? So that means I have everything coming. But nobody is attacking me because they all know that we deserve better. So I want you to shake a hand, make a friend, tell the people you deserve better. Let me tell you how you can get better. Let me tell you how you can make a different choice. Let me introduce you to a different choice. I promise you, you'll make a friend, and we're going to turn this state red. Again, I am P-Ray of Black Excellence Hour. To show people the high self-esteem, I'm going to be live tomorrow night on WVON. I'll be live on the WVON Facebook page, as well as the Black Excellence Hours Facebook page, and on the iHeartRadio app from 6 to 9 tomorrow. But again, 5 p.m. on Sundays is the blackest conservative show you ever want to hear. I tell people it's like Hannity with a few Aints, Canes, and Finners. Okay, it works. And my co-host is Charles Thomas from ABC7, who will be my my co-host every week up until the election. So we had a very, 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 very robust political conversation that I think everyone will love. Yes, ma'am. No, I need help. I'm a one-lady show. I need all kind of help. So let me tell you this. I pay for my show on WVON. My show is $600 a week. I was sharing with my friends. I pay for it out of my purse. Okay. I'm paying to liberate my people from this Democratic plantation. And so initially when I came out, thank you for mentioning that, people were like, oh, P. Ray, she's just getting cashed out by these white Republicans so she can come and tell us this. I'm like, I trade money all day so I can pay Midway Broadcasting and do this radio show. So I take this extremely seriously. I'm putting my own money on the table for this. So just know, again, shake a hand, make a friend, and it's working, y'all. I'm telling you, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I had a Trump sign in my yard. I live in the Austin community. Anybody know about Austin here? Austin is the epicenter of Chirac, okay? If you want to see Chirac, come on to Austin. But it's cool. Again, this is, again, federal mismanagement. It's not the people. We are a community of homeowners who are being harassed by the drug cartel, which is an international terrorist organization. We would not allow Al-Qaeda to function like this on the west side. We should not be allowing the cartel to function like this, okay? But anyway, I digress. I'm from Austin. I had a Trump sign in my yard. It said, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, President Trump. You're doing a great job. Nobody bothered my sign. Nobody came to my gate. Nobody threw an egg at me or my sign or bothered me. People said, that's right, girl. That's right. I know what you're talking about. On the day of the election, I stood outside the election place with my Trump flag on a big stick, waving it back and forth on Chicago Avenue, telling all the guys walking down the Chicago Avenue, get in there and go vote for Trump. And they're like, what? I can't believe you're sitting out here with it. Go in there, stop what you're doing, go in there and vote for Donald Trump so we can have a decent president, right? Because when they brought ICE here and they raided the factories, my neighbors went and got those factory jobs, okay? The home that I live in right now, my grandparents worked in Chicago factory jobs with a 3rd and 6th grade education to give me a building in the city of Chicago. So I understand how manufacturing builds wealth in Chicago, and we can't do that as a sanctuary city because Americans will never, ever, 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 ever get hired in a sanctuary city when we have people who are working here illegally and aren't getting paid the same. They don't come with the same privileges, so that completely ices out everyone who knows about this manufacturing business. I also tell people before I go, call ICE 866-DHS-4-ICE. Again, 866-DHS-4-ICE. See something, say something. It does not make you a racist to protect the sovereignty of this country because it belongs to me too, and when they can't call me a racist. So tell them P. Ray told me to call ICE, 866-DHS-4-ICE. It is so important. It is very, 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 very important. Not only are these people selling heroin, they're selling cocaine, they're selling fentanyl, they're trafficking humans and guns. It makes all of us unsafe by us being a sanctuary state, and the only way we can do that or change it is by, again, calling the people and letting them know we need some help. Thank y'all. I love you.